How to do a timing belt on a 1997 Mitsubishi Montero 3.5 liter. I've already taken the fan off. Belts and everything are off. There's a crank bolt that goes in here. It's already out. So what I'm going to do next is remove these fan bolts right here, all 4 of them, pull this sucker off, and then I'm going to pull this crank pulley off, then undo all of these bolts and take this big metal sheet off. These bolts off, or the nuts off rather. Take that off. This thing should come off. Got your water pump back here. This one is no good, but that's fine. It usually comes as part of the timing belt kit anyway. So next thing we're going to do, I'm going to take this off, but before I do that, I'm going to put this into, I'm going to time it to top dead center, so that we know where everything goes back. All right, undid all those bolts. This thing comes right out. And we can see our timing belt in here. It actually looks pretty good. If I hadn't just bought this motor, I would probably be leaving it in. So this is good. I'm going to take I've already got the plenum, throttle body, all that business off. Dirty. I'm going to take these valve covers off because I can see that it's leaking in there a little bit. And I'm going to take the spark plugs out so that the engine doesn't have as much compression going, so I can hopefully turn this thing by hand and get it at top dead center before I start doing this timing belt. If you ever just want to check your timing belt while you still have everything on the motor, you can just take this little window off. You can see it's in pretty good condition. No cracking, anything like that. But we'll replace it because got a new one anyway. All right, so I took this little bit of the timing belt cover off because there were these 3 bolts. I like to put my bolts back in where I found them. Have just a little impact wrench, so it only takes a second, but make sure I don't lose them. Took all these bolts off. They really silicone these suckers on, so it took a little bit of work. I like to take a hammer and a screwdriver and hammer right here on this little bit of timing cover, so that way I'm not messing up the head or bending the valve cover gasket. So, see if we can pull this thing off with one hand. All right. There we go. Now, I got that one out. This one's out too. As you can see, this one is just loose in there. Whoever had this before me did some weird stuff to it. So I'm going to go ahead and get those out and do the same to the other side. Hopefully we can get some, relieve some of the compression so that we can turn this thing by hand. All right. Valve cover off, all the spark plugs out. Got this valve cover, gasket right here. I'm going to go ahead and put this on and get some tissue paper over those so that I can make sure I'm not, look how dirty this motor is, make sure none of this stuff is falling in. So I'll go ahead and put this valve cover gasket on and then put stuff in those holes. All right, one other thing to keep in mind. There's these little, not little, they're pretty big, gasket grommet things. So you're going to have to put them on here before you put your valve cover on. So when you get the valve cover gasket kit, it'll come with these. So make sure you put them on because that's what keeps the oil out of these spark plug barrels. All right, valve covers are all put back on. Got this thing in time. See if it'll focus for us. there we go. In time there. In time there. In time there. And to get this thing off, these are just to hold it. Got to use one of these big pullers. So, all right. Got this thing off. They were stuck together, so I had to cut the timing belt to get it off. But that's all right. So we've got the crank position sensor right here. And I got a new one of those, even though this one's not having problems. I just don't want to have to replace it later. So I'm going to replace that. Up here is the cam position sensor. I'll replace that also. And then should be good to go when the motor spins. This little reluctor wheel goes through, tells you where the timing is. So yeah, I'll just do that. Everything's still in time. Then I'll wrap it around and should be good to go. All right, got that crank sensor off. And this is your water pump. Right, so it went on like that. Got a new water pump. Try to clean this off as much as you can. This stuff was pretty darn stuck on there. But I think we'll be good. So clean that off and then put your water pump on here and we'll continue. All right, so put a new roller on here, new tensioner. If you need to use your old one for some reason, they're really difficult to get pushed back in, and then you have to stop it with a Allen wrench or something right there. You need to use a vise. So basically the idea here is that once you release that, it's going to move this, right? And it'll be this bolt isn't in all the way. It will be the right tension for your timing belt. So now I'm going to run the timing belt around, and we will be pretty much good to go. All right, got this timing belt on. I've got this in place, trying to keep a little tension on it before I pull the Allen wrench out all the way. So what do we have here? See down there that notch? This business? That's in time. I've given it a couple rotations. Looks like that's in time. This one's painted white, but there's actually a little divot in there. Then, looks like that's in time as well. I went around, I think this takes 2 rotations to get these to rotate one whole time, but I've done 4 to make sure that everything's good, and it appears that it is. So I'll do a couple more times around just to make sure it's all good, and then put this cover on, drop some spark plugs in, and then I'll do the rear main seal before I stick it in the car. All right, got the new crank sensor, got the new cam sensor. Everything, of course, still in time. Released that pin. So we're coming together here. One thing that I am going to do is do these rear cam seals. So these right here have a little seal inside of them, and then some silicone RTV stuff on the middle. And this one looks okay. This one over here looks like it could have been leaking quite a bit. So I've got those. Basically, just undo these. Kind of hard to hold this and do it, but sorry for the shake. That's all right. Okay. Open this up. It's the back side of your cam right there. And this is the seal to replace. You can see this one was good. Let's see what the other one looks like. Okay. See this? There's oil around here, which means the seal wasn't very good. So I'll take that out, replace it, stick it right back in.